This is West of Everest. I am Lee Benson, joined by Grant Benson. It is the middle of September. The football season is still very, very young. Oklahoma is 3-0 and playing some really good football so far this season. This week should be fun. The Sooners host number 22 Auburn at 2:30 in what will be the return of Jackson Arnold. Real quick, a couple of things. Number one, my audio in the Temple preview show was not good. So I am sorry about that. We're going to make sure that's fixed. Hopefully, before we recorded this episode, we did a bunch of audio tests, so hopefully this is working right now. We won't find out until we're done. Other than that, number two, thank you to Brady Trantham from Through the Keyhole, and also now Sooners on SI for filling in for me on the Temple postgame podcast. Great show. A lot of good content. I listened to it a day late because I didn't get to watch the game until Sunday evening. But I got to say, I was horrified that Grant and Brady spent 15 minutes talking about Texas. If I wanted that kind of content, I could have put on, I don't know what their podcast, Orange Bloods Hey, or Orange Bloods Now. I don't know what they call it. Hook 'em Horns, Unfiltered. I don't want whatever those shows are. So yeah, I didn't really want to listen to that, but thanks for that, Grant. Appreciated you guys, wasting time on our podcast.
Well, I don't think it was a waste of time. That's sort of part of being in the Oklahoma fandom, is that you talk about Texas. And I know you're not really into that whole thing, but there's this thing called college football. Are you familiar with it? And lots of people really care about the rivalries, and a lot of people really do revel in the misery of their rivals. And I am one of those people. Brady is one of those people as well. So we had a lot of fun talking about Arch Manning. And Arch Manning being bad is utterly delightful. It's a wonderful story. It's great. It's great for the world. It's great for the country. It's great for college football. I love it.
I haven't had a chance to watch him play much aside from the first game, so I don't know what he looks like. I mean, I know there's rumors that he's injured. I mean, his stats don't look very good. I mean, yeah, it's interesting that he's not playing very well. I'll admit that. It's early, though. And, if he's still playing like this, obviously in 3 or 4 weeks, then that's definitely a story. That's a real story. And that's okay. It's not early anymore. We're going to be, 4, 5, 6 games into the season. But, that's why I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it yet.
Yeah, I mean, you can... It's fine to, I guess, see what happens with everything, but in the meantime, I'm going to revel in it, and I think it's great. It's one of those things where I didn't watch the full game against UTEP or whatever. I don't know why we're talking about this now. You roped me into it again, but it's a blast to watch because he's terrible. He's really bad. It's great. It's lovely.
Okay, fine. Let's move on to whatever else we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we should.
What are we talking about today?
Well, I'll tell you. You weren't here to talk about the end of the Temple game, and so I know there's a lot of people here who want to know your thoughts on the game. And so you were sort of texting me on Sunday evening, you're not a lot, but some of your thoughts while watching the game. And so, I don't know, Lee, while you were watching the game, over 24 hours removed from it actually being played, you weren't watching it live with everybody else. Did you have anything notable to say about that game against Temple?
I have so many things notable. I got my likes and my dislikes. It's like we're doing a post-game pod again.
Well, let's do it. There's
Real quick, though.
Not a whole lot going on this week other than everybody's injured again, but that's whatever. That's for 20 minutes from now. So I'd love to do likes and dislikes with you.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, just to explain what I was doing. So I mentioned it briefly in the last episode. I was in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. I went to the Alabama-Wisconsin game. Went with one of my best friends from high school. He went to Wisconsin. He was there. He went with a bunch of his fraternity brothers from Wisconsin, and it was a really fun time. Cool to go to Tuscaloosa. First time there for a game day. I knew I wasn't going to go to the OU Bama game this season, and so when my buddy invited me, I thought, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go. I'm not sure the next time I'll go to Tuscaloosa for a game. And so I got a chance to experience what a lot of people listening to this show and a lot of OU fans are probably going to experience later this year in November. And I will say, just a heads up, if you don't know this about Tuscaloosa, great setup. The stadium, the location of the stadium It's great if you're a college kid, and it's great if you're there for a game. The bar scene is like pretty much right outside the stadium. There's a road that goes by the stadium. Like if you're driving, like think of Lindsay Street essentially. So Lindsay Street, obviously you drive by OU Stadium. It's right there next to Lindsay Street. Now imagine if Lindsay Street had a row of bars just like steps away from the entrance to the stadium. That's how Alabama's set up. And on top of that, on both sides of the stadium, on one side, for this metaphor, the Lindsay Street side where there's bars, that's where the frats are, the frat houses, all along there. So right outside the stadium, and on the other side of the stadium, the opposite side, there's another road, and that's where all the sororities are, I learned. So great setup if you're in college, and like the bars are right there, and so it was real easy in and out. And the last thing, didn't have tickets to the game. All of my buddy's friends got tickets months ago and paid like $300 for them. And my buddy and I, we didn't have tickets, but at 9 a.m., we were checking StubHub. They were offering tickets for like $50 that were like in the first row. And so, of course, we got them. I had never seen a setup like that before. We go down, and I covered a lot of football games when I worked at News 9. I know what it's like to go out onto the field. We were literally going down through the tunnel that you would go if you were a journalist. You'd be like, this is the tunnel to go down onto the field. That's where we went to find our seats, and we didn't even get in our seats. We just literally stood by the field and watched the first half. And, like, the cheerleaders were kind of next to us, and, like, we had a perfect view of one of the end zones, saw Alabama's first couple touchdowns. It was incredible. It was so easy. It was cheap, and it was at Alabama. So, terrific experience. And I'll tell you a bit more about it off the air.
You're breaking news to me. I was not aware that you attended the game because last we spoke, you were telling me that you weren't going to the game. So I had no idea you were in the stadium for all of that. So I joked around with Brady, but I was right. You were hobnobbing with the Glitterati in Tuscaloosa. They're on the sidelines.
Yeah, on the field. I got a shot of a touchdown. I think Bama's third touchdown. Anyways, who cares? This is not an Alabama podcast. So that's my experience this past week, and that's why I was not on the show. It would not have made sense for me to do the show. I was not ready to even talk about the show until like yesterday. That's when I finished watching Temple. So, likes. Easy first like. Let's start with the offense. Torrey Blaylock. He's the best back on the team. No need to go into any more detail. That's obvious. He had a great game. He's still
That's your
good. He's
first
the best back on
like?
the team.
That was your first takeaway from the game was just Torrey Blaylock?
Yeah.
That's it? That wasn't your first just like, oh, it's pretty sweet that they scored on their first drive and then had a pretty nifty little 2-point conversion? That wasn't...
No.
Nah,
you didn't really think much about the 2-point conversion.
You weren't there for the narrative of their because they were there to play, man. And that's a big deal. That's a game that they easily could have taken for granted and could have just sleptwalked through. But having none of that. They came to play.
I mean, that wasn't. I mean, it's. You didn't let me finish all my likes. I mean, that's on the list. But
okay, I just want to. I kind of feel like that should have been number one. I don't even think we saw Torrey Blaylock until like the second quarter. But
I kind of feel like you shouldn't be critiquing my likes and dislikes. It's kind of.
No, I'm going to gatekeep. I'm going to gatekeep. This is my podcast now.
Okay, number two, like. You're going to love this one, apparently, because you're just my likes and dislikes are bad. Isaiah Satania, I liked him. He had several touches in the game. I liked how he was running in space. I like seeing that. He's athletic. I also like that he was catching a lot of punts, and so I don't think him muffing that punt against Michigan. I don't think that's an issue. He doesn't have any fear. Maybe it'll happen once or twice again this year. I don't really care. He's good. I don't care.
I mean, you can still put him back there. He's going to take one to the house this year at some point in time. But I was holding my breath a little bit during that game watching him because it wasn't just that one punt against Michigan. I mean, it was multiple that he was kind of sketchy on.
Yeah, but
hopefully that was
like
just like
he has no fear. I appreciate that. You can't have any fear back there. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to catch punts, and I think the upside of him is just so good, and I'm excited, and I like that Oklahoma likes to have him back there to do things. So that was my second like. Third like, Jaren Kanak. 4 more catches. He has 14 catches now on the season for 245 yards. And you guys didn't, I mean, I know everyone's talking about Kanik, but I haven't really heard this angle yet, and this is perfect for our podcast. So through 3 games, Kanik already has more catches and more yards than Cooper Mathers had all of last season at Washington State. And we talked about Mathers on the Temple Preview podcast. He's the guy that we both thought best resembled Jaren Kanik and Ben Arbuckle's offense last season at Wazoo. Obviously, Jaren Kanik is a lot more of an impactful weapon in this Oklahoma offense. But I got to say, there's one thing that Cooper Mathers has on Jaren Kanik, and it has it big time, and that's touchdowns. Cooper Mathers had 6 touchdowns last year, and Kanik doesn't have any yet. So that's the one thing that Mathers can still hang his hat on.
I think that's coming because I mean, especially if Keontae Lewis isn't in there, and it sounds like there's a pretty good chance that we will see him on Saturday. We'll get to that much later in the show. But Kanik is not just a nice little story. He's pretty obviously John Mateer's go-to guy, and I think he's a genuine weapon. He's just straight up good. He's a good pass catcher, and didn't see that one coming whatsoever. It's awesome. It's great. He's gonna have a great season if he stays healthy.
What Jaren Kanik is doing, and I know I'm like a broken record on this, but he is making all of the like 4-star athletic, great like receivers, guys that have come to OU in the past. And granted, he's very fortunate. It's important to mention that Kanik is in an offense that can allow him to excel and succeed because Mateer and Arbuckle are putting him in good positions. That's a huge part of this. But at the same time, it just shows, again, if you're athletic and you're fast and you understand football and you're not dumb, you can be awesome. You can be really good if you're put in good positions. And so whenever you're super athletic and fast and then you're even in a good situation and you can't figure it out, Jaren Kanik's making you look bad because he played defense for his entire career. Now he changed positions, and he's doing this new position better than he ever did his old position. So credit to him.
Awesome. It's awesome. And I think he is going to factor heavily in the game this week. I was rewatching that Auburn-Baylor game from the first weekend of the season, and Michael Trigg, Baylor's tight end, they threw him the ball over the middle that entire game. So I think there's
Trigg is the tight end?
Yeah, for Baylor.
I thought he was just a big-bodied receiver.
No, he's a tight end. I mean, a lot like Kanik, he basically just operates as like a slot receiver. But yeah, no, I mean, they were throwing him over the middle of the field the entire game. So I think Baylor saw something there, and I don't know, Kanik at this point in time is kind of inevitable. The guy's a really good player.
All right, I have 2 more likes on offense, and you're going to love this one. You're going to love this like. Oklahoma's offense as a whole. They started fast. Is that what you wanted me to go with? To begin with this one, they started fast? Yeah, scoring on their first 4 drives. I like that a lot.
I thought
touchdown, field goal, touchdown.
Them coming out and proving that they cared to be there, I thought was a really, really big deal going into that game. Because it's dumb, and like we talked about this over the 9 seasons on this podcast. I think trap games are stupid. You should always be excited to play a football game no matter who you're playing. I think that all of that is silly. But we have an entire, history of college football that tells us otherwise, that is a problem. And so I'm just happy they didn't fall into the trap. That's why I was so pleased with the way they started the game on Saturday.
Yeah, it was good. And my last like on offense, a little different, and something that it's more of like a season-long like, and it's a credit to Ben Arbuckle, but also I think it's a credit to Brent Venables. And I like how, and we're going to give a lot of credit to Ben Arbuckle, but Venables is the head coach, so we get some credit too. How Oklahoma effectively controlled the clock. And OU had the ball longer than Temple, 32-28, somewhere in there. It's like 32-15 to 27-45, something like that. And I think through 3 games, OU has done a really nice job of playing every game at their own pace, not getting too fast. They're not trying to catch up to anybody. And Ben Arbuckle is doing a really nice job, and wait for it, complimenting this defense and keeping the ball and running the clock down when they need to. So I think that's a really, really good sign through the first 3 games. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and it's good to see a continuation of that from the Michigan game where, I mean, we were praising that 8-minute drive in the fourth quarter of that game up and down because it was impressive. It's exactly what the team needed, and they were able to do it. Because we like to talk about, especially like effective offenses, we always like to talk about, oh, they're explosive. They do a lot of different things well. But one of the things that we haven't really been able to talk a whole lot about is, man, they control the pace of the game really well. They can play at a bunch of different paces and still move the chains. And I think so far you could make an argument that that's the best quality of OU's offense through the first 3 weeks, is that they've shown that they can play in those two separate ways. They can go fast and they can go at more of a deliberate pace, and they can still move the chains. They can still score, which is, if this defense is as good as they've shown in the first 3 weeks of the season, I mean, I think that's a weapon for sure, because I do think you're at an advantage if you're constantly forcing the other team to play at your pace, especially when you got to go out there against that defense later on. That's pretty dope. As
By the
Albert
way,
Einstein
I just
once
realized.
said.
As who once did you say? What did you say?
Albert Einstein. He used to say that's
Oh.
dope all the time.
Oh, I thought you said famous author John Steinbeck, as he used to write.
No, you've never seen Oppenheimer. Einstein says that's dope like all the time. It's like his catchphrase in the movie.
Okay. By the way, we're like almost 20 minutes in. I realize that I haven't explained for those that are watching on YouTube or Spotify. Like they're like, what's going on with my background? Like, I'm not, I'm not in my normal spot. I'm actually, I wanted a different background. Like that way is Lake Murray, and I really wanted that as a background because it's kind of neat. But the lighting didn't work out. I'm on assignment for work right now, so I'm at Lake Murray State Park. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's why I have a picture behind me that's not OU.
What did it?
related.
What was that place called before they renamed it after Kyler Murray following the 2018 season?
I believe it was called Lake Jones, as in Landry Jones.
Oh God! Close your earmuffs, Brady Trantham. Earmuffs.
All right, defensive likes. I'll try to go quick. As a whole, I mean, Temple just under 2 yards per play for the game. I mean, that's fantastic. The pass defense, excellent again. And this is important because this came against a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that had been efficient, explosive, and high-scoring the first two games, albeit against bad teams, but still they showed a lot of promise, that Temple offense. You'd have never known that Temple's offense had done all those great things the first couple of games, the way Oklahoma's pass defense looked and shut down the Owls. Individuals, this is hard for me defensively right now because they play such really, really good team defense. Nobody's that flashy. Everybody kind of just does their job and hits hard, and I love it. So I'll just I texted you and Brady this. Like, I do remember Michael Boganowski's delayed blitz sack where he just blew somebody up, and like that's where he's good. He's good as a human heat-seeking missile. Anything else, he is wildly mediocre. And
he plays a little out of control. He's a guy really against a team that can complete forward passes at a high level. I don't want that guy back there at all. If he's there, I want him blitzing. But also,
Yes.
You never know. I mean, we might. What if the defense just plays so well together as a team that covers up any sort of other, like, I don't know, demerits that he would have back there. Who knows? But I do think, like, on that blitz that you're talking about, I think one of the subtle things about it, just like perfectly timed, and it was like a tiny little delayed blitz, but they practice that. They have to practice that. That's taught about, like, this is a delay and you're going off of someone's back hip or something like that. And also just his ability in that situation to close really quickly on the quarterback. I mean, as soon as he passed the line of scrimmage, it was bang. It was over. It was done. Like, I mean, he converged and closed on him real quick.
Well, it tells me that Brent Venables and his defensive coaching staff know what Boganowski's strengths are, and that is his strength. So, yeah, you got a guy like that, and you can send him on a blitz like that as a heat-seeking missile. Do it, and he's good at it. Reggie Powers, he had a sack off the edge, I think, and that seemed pretty cool.
They brought him off the edge a bunch of times in that game. That's something that they clearly like, is because you remember when, we talked about how good Kendall Dolby was blitzing off the edge like that from the cheetah / nickelback position. And it looks like, at least in terms of that specific thing, like blitzing off the edge, Powers is also really good at that and is shot out of a cannon when he comes. And so I thought, if like, I kind of agreed with you at that last game. Like you can point out a bunch of guys like in situations who looked really good on that play and like, oh, that's a nice little play that you made there. But for the most part, I thought it's just like, just give the game ball to the entire defense because they play really well as a team. If you put a gun to my head and you made me pick one guy who I thought really stood out and was the best player on the defense on Saturday, it probably would be Powers. I thought he was really good.
My last great to see Kendall Dolby back. Happy he was playing. Happy he was playing corner. Kind of slow moving at first, but he seemed to get his feet underneath him, and he's a guy. Hopefully he's feeling good. He's feeling healthy. They're going to need him, especially who knows what's going on with Gentry Williams. So good to see Kendall Dolby back. Love that. And also, the defensive line seemingly, played really well. I remember David Stone flashed, Dominic Williams flashed, Jaden Jackson flashed a little bit. I know they played like everybody. The depth up front in the middle was very evident in that game, but nothing really specific. I just know that everybody played really well. And when you were kind of getting on me about the offense and starting fast, yes, that was important, but it was equally as important because both sides of the ball were the same. Like the defense came out and Temple just had no chance. So it was like, even if the offense maybe didn't come out strong, the defense could have picked them up. But I guess what's so encouraging is that both sides of the ball did their jobs and made it easy. It made it incredibly easy in a game that, whatever, I know a lot of people pointed this out. I think our friend Harry pointed it out via social media. I guess Kirk Herbstreit said that he thought it would be a close game into the third quarter or something like that, which is like, it's not a crazy prediction just based off of how sports goes and stuff, but it's also a situation where it's like, you're a national guy, and it goes back to my old boring cliche like rant of like, these guys don't know everything about everybody. So he doesn't know Oklahoma that well. And if you're following this team, and granted we're biased, it's like, that game was never going to be that low scoring and tied into the third quarter. It wasn't going to be that way.
Yeah, I think like maybe not his exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, on College Game Day, he said, don't be surprised when you look up and this game is tied at 17 in the third quarter. That's what he said. And so if he's just going off of the first three Brent Venables teams, and even like a Lincoln Riley team being tied with that team, like it wouldn't be at 17, it would be at like 31 in the third quarter.
Right.
Would that have surprised you? Because that very much would have been consistent with an OU team over the last decade or so. That year, and I think in that situation, he was probably saying a lot of good things about Temple too, which we did too. They looked great in their first two games against bad competition, but that's why. That's even why I was so much more excited after that game, because I watched Temple's offense for the most part in those first two games and going up against patsies and whatnot, but they were very functional, very, very functional, and they could not do a single thing against. When OU kicked the field goal to go up 11-0, the game was over. It was done. Temple was not going to score twice on Oklahoma.
All right. Dislikes on offense. Number one dislike. Literally any time John Mateer took a hit. And I believe that happened at least twice. He got sacked at least once. And then the one that really got me going, that I had to take a note on, that was really maddening, was the opening drive of the third quarter, when he ran a quarterback draw for absolutely no reason and was dragged down by like three guys just unnecessarily. So I'll say it again. It's fine if Mateer does not get hurt. But if he does get hurt, especially, and this is the key part, especially on a play where it's just not necessary to run him, then I'm going to be unhappy. It doesn't count if it's a pass play and he's scrambling and he's trying to make something happen and he gets hit weird and he gets injured. That happens. I guess that's on him. That's football. I'm talking unnecessary called quarterback runs against Temple or against Kent State when it's 3rd and 1 and it's 28-3 in the third quarter. There's no reason to do that. Number one dislike was that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Comments,
that's fine.
questions,
I'm
concerns.
fine. I'd prefer them not to run that QB draw when it's 28-3 in the third quarter. But also at the same time, that QB draw is one of their core plays in their offense. And I've already accepted. I mean, John Mateer is like you said, Torrey Blaylock's their best running back. John Mateer is their best running back. And so and I know I just saw you roll your eyes, but it is what it is. Like I said, I want to win. And John Mateer running the ball is going to let them win. In that situation, I don't think it was necessary. I think your quarrel is with Ben Arbuckle in that situation. There's no reason why you don't just give the ball to Xavier Robinson there or Javonte Barnes, and we'll just let him put his head down and just run into someone and fall forward. So I agree with you there, but also the other hits that he took one like kind of hit where it kind of seemed like he got his bell rung. That was in the second half again, and that one was totally unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. But I kind of felt like the other times he got hit, it wasn't really big at all. A lot of the times it was just big bear hugs, and then he just kind of went down.
And another thing about it, and yeah, I get it, he's a great runner, but man, one of my biggest complaints about Jalen Hurts 2019 end of season is all the hits he took for all the times he ran. I think it really weighed on him, and it looked like he was dragging a piano behind his back late in the year. Like he couldn't run, he wasn't as fast, and I think the season long of all the hits he took had to have taken a toll. And Mateer's fast, he's good at running. It's just we get to like week 9, and if he's taken 15, to 18 hits in the SEC schedule, it's just he's not going to be as effective late in the year, I don't think. And if Oklahoma's trying to make a playoff run, and it's just I don't want him to be not at his best late in the year. So that's another thing that's kind of on my mind of like, man, if this guy keeps getting all this usage up, I don't want to see him look like he's dragging a piano behind his back in mid-November.
And I do think Hurts that season was like objectively less explosive after that Kansas State game when they'd already lost. Like was obviously less explosive. It's even sillier when you had Trey Sermon, Kennedy Brooks, and most of all Ramondre Stevenson on that team. There was like you wanted to like I don't know, but that was 6 years ago. So I think John Mateer running is going to be a big deal if they want to win a lot of games in the SEC. So I'm fine with it, and I'm just at peace with it. He's going to take some hits this year, and he's built for it. He's a big dude. He's built. He's bigger than most running backs. So,
all right. Next dislike on offense: Keontae Lewis getting injured. I certainly would like for him to be able to play on Saturday against Auburn. He's a nice player.
I think that was Mateer's worst throw / decision of the season so far.
Yeah, I didn't even have his interception. I mean, 3 games, 3 picks, which not great, but
I mean, is that
Mateer?
We watched, we watched a lot of Wazoo last year. I mean, he threw a lot of passes that should have been picks that were not.
Yeah,
and so
go back. I mean, listen to our summer podcast.
Yeah,
man.
we said
we're
it.
Telling you.
He's gonna have some instances where he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. That's what we said, and he's gonna have moments where he wows you and he looks like the best player who has ever played the position. I mean, and take the good with the bad. That's who he is.
Yep, I am. I want to pat ourselves on the back. I'm so thrilled that we did that. I'm happy that we watched so much of him because it's been. I mean, this has been the guy that we saw for the most part. He's played. He's actually played. He's played maybe a little bit worse, but his completion percentage is better. He's hitting on more of his passes than last year, but his passer rating's a little bit lower than it kind of was. But he's making plays, and obviously he's playing really well.
I mean, he looks. And I think he's just going to get better as the season goes on because he does not look uncomfortable out there. Guy is he's exactly who I thought he was. He's a baller through and through, and he's 9 games still left in the year. He's gonna have a massive stinker at some point in time this year, like the entire game.
We saw it a couple times last year
where he just can't get out of his own way. And in this instance, and I hope it's against a team like South Carolina or something that can't really move the ball well, and OU's defense can just kind of keep him at arm's length the entire time. But that's what we'll get. We'll touch on that when we get there. But he's
all right.
He is who he is. He's fun to watch, and he's going to make some mistakes.
All right, more dislikes. Really nice game, great game against Michigan, but in the dislike column against Temple, Javonte Barnes, confirmed he's not good at getting yards. Like, he's just not, in general, he's just not a good running back. But his touchdown was fine. He looked pretty solid on his touchdown run. But just in general, just not a guy that's good at picking up yards as a running back. Oh boy. But hey, like the Michigan game showed, you put him in the right spots, he can be effective.
I thought his touchdown run was, in the top 10% of his best runs in his OU career, probably. That's the quickest he's ever accelerated after a cut, ever, in his life.
Yeah. One more offensive dislike, and you know what, Javonte Barnes, I don't dislike you as much as I'm disliking this next situation. This is the easy one. Jaden Ott, he stinks. He's timid out there. He looks disinterested. And what I get out of this is that it makes me think that this is probably what he looks like in practice. Therefore, of course he's not getting any playing time. And I think you got to I saw Joe Masato at the Oklahoman had a column either today or yesterday about, hey, let's face it, Jaden Ott's a fourth stringer right now. And he's right. It's a correct column. I can't remember. I think it was the Sooner Scoop podcast maybe, or one of the – I can't remember which podcast it was. Somebody pointed out – my apologies – pointed out how, going back to how bizarre it was and how bizarre of a look now it is that Jaden Ott started the Michigan game and played the first couple of series. Like, it almost seems like Venables and Arbuckle were caving to the pressure of the outside when they they knew that he had not earned that right yet to start. He just doesn't look very good.
Did you see the quote after the game from Venables?
Yeah, I listened to your podcast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't think he's hurt. I think he's got an attitude problem. That was basically, like, I think that was the implication of what Bert Venables said. This guy's got an attitude problem. He's just not he's not showing up to work every single day. And that's really disappointing. I don't understand that. Your life is never going to be easier. All you got to do is show up and ball out. It's all you have to do. So
yeah, sorry, I was interrupting you, and we were going to get to this at some point, but just for purposes, because you mentioned that you don't think he's hurt, conference game. So we have our first injury report from the SEC, and Jaden Ott ain't on it. So he's not hurt.
He's not hurt. I think he's got a. I think the most charitable thing to say is that he got here, and for whatever reason, he just does not mesh with the coaching staff whatsoever. And he just is, and he's getting paid a lot, and so he's like, well, he's still showing up every single day, like his body is there. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like that's a pretty big swing and a miss for Jim Nagy right now. But also, Jim Nagy has a double right now because the Michael pickup seems to be a really good pickup at this point in time. But yeah, the Jaden Ott is a massive swing and a miss, and it's super disappointing, especially if it's an attitude thing. If he just doesn't really want to be here, that makes it even more disappointing. Because if that is the case, there's this possibility that what if he just wakes up one day and he decides, you know what? Yeah, I have been kind of a butthead. Let's get my crap into gear here. It's like if it really is an attitude thing, that's going to be a possibility for the remainder of the season. And every single week that's not realized, it's just going to be more disappointing. And it is what it is.
That's on him.
Maybe it's 100% on him. But also, you heard the podcast too where I said, what if it's mostly he got here and he's just like with DeMarco Murray and he's just like, I cannot stand this guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is we haven't – I know after game one we were not happy about DeMarco Murray, but now after 3 games we don't have as much ire towards him because Torrey Blaylock's played the most and he's the best running back. And so it's like, okay, there's really not much to complain about And, yeah, I just don't think Ott looks very good. So best case scenario, one day or somebody gets into his head finally. He's like, dude, you realize that you're on a good offensive team and you can actually do things here and have fun? Figure it out. And it's like, he's young. He's a kid still, whatever, 20. I don't know. Like, I know that's still not like he's not like 15. So he's a little bit older, but still, like, you're still dumb and, like, don't know anything, don't understand and don't appreciate stuff. Maybe at some point, best case scenario this year, if he gets healthy and feels it, like, the light comes on and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm tired of being a butthead, as you said. Let's do this. And then you got a super fresh Jaden Ott for a certain point of the year.
Makes me wonder if they started him against Michigan to, like, light a fire. It's like, dude, this is why we came to get you. This is a Saturday night football against the blue blood. And yeah, he looked in his series against Michigan, he looked pretty much disinterested. Like he was playing at 75% speed.
All right, and I have one dislike on defense, and you guys can probably guess what this is, and that's R. Mason Thomas. His targeting penalty, that was dumb. I mean, I think it was very easily avoidable. I don't know what he was doing. He kind of like half-heartedly launched into the guy's head. He's a quarterback, man. Like, that's dumb. That's an easy flag. Like, it's an easy letter of the law targeting.
I thought so too.
I mean, if he wouldn't have done the little like weird launch, he may have got away with it, maybe as like inadvertent contact. But like he launched, he kind of like jumped and like put his head in. That was easy. And so like the only potential kind of good news or makes you like okay is that Oklahoma's defensive line is pretty damn good, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could be just fine without him for a half against Auburn. So
yeah, I think you're talking about. I mean, it's going to be I think Marvin Jones Jr. is going to say because he started every game so far, so it's going to be a Taylor Wine and PJ Adebawore show. And you know what? And PJ, for all of the things that he hasn't done at OU, when he's gone in there, he's solid against the run. I mean, that's what he's good at. He's just a big body with long arms who can keep offensive linemen off of him. So I think it was George on the Sooner Scoop podcast today. I thought he described it perfectly. R. Mason Thomas being out for the first half is not ideal, but it's also not necessarily a massive deal. And I think that's probably right because they're going to get him back for the third quarter anyway.
All right, that's my likes and dislikes from the Temple game.
It's a good game. It was nice to see them come out and take care of business. And it didn't even occur to me during the game, but they did have that little dip in offensive production sort of in the middle 8 portion of the game. And that did come right after Mateer just let Keontez Lewis out to dry. I mean, and then after that, they kind of got their wits back about him and they scored their last 2 possessions. Loved that the last possession that the offense had, 2 plays, 75 yards, 2 runs, 2 explosive runs, and that was it. And the day was done. So I really liked that. It was overall, for just a really weird spot on the schedule, I thought it was a really good performance.
All right, and I know that you guys did not do 3-word reviews in the post-game podcast, so we'll do a little bit of them today. I decided to poll some select 3-word reviews from the West of Everest Facebook page and also from my Twitter account at Lee Benson Tweets, because that likes and dislikes segment went a lot longer than I thought it would, and I don't want to spend too much time on 3-word reviews because we're going to have all the Auburn stuff to talk about, which could take a long time, and I'm trying to avoid 2-hour podcast, even though some people probably like them, but honestly, it's a lot. It's a long show. So for the West of Everest Facebook page, we'll start with Philip. Philip says, running game improving? ? And I'm just going to kind of just go through here, boom, 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 and then I'll pause and Grant can comment. Tim says, ought for not. I like it. Vincent says, are we good? And then Vincent also says his 3-word review for this upcoming Saturday against Auburn. I'm not really sure if I understand this one. He says, schedule looking easier. I guess maybe he's mentioning like other teams past Auburn, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, Texas, South Carolina, and LSU are all, as of through 3 weeks, a lot worse than we anticipated, I think.
Yeah, maybe it goes back to it still is early, and I anticipate, except for, I mean, South Carolina was kind of fraudulent last year anyways, so that's not that surprising if they're kind of coming back down to earth. But I would still be pretty sure that Texas and LSU will probably figure it out and be pretty good at some point. So we'll see. Skip says Blaylock is RB1. Ott is not. Defense swallows owls. I like that one. And I like this one too from Skip. Said Sooner standard upheld. Shelley says Canick. So impressive. I like that. Steven says defense is nails. And Steven's got a comment. He says, finally got a quality win against an overmatched opponent under BV in that they played to the standard rather than playing to the level of competition. That's what you've hit on already a couple times in the show today, Grant. Good stuff. Gonzo Strangelove. I'm picking just one of Gonzo's many 3-word reviews. If you want Gonzo's full game breakdown, he gave it to us. Check the West of Evers Facebook page on the 3-word review thread. But Gonzo, the one I'm picking is crash test quarterback. Interesting. And Gonzo's reasoning is Mateer won't survive the season unscathed at this rate. Why do they, Arbuckle, keep putting him in harm's way with all of these design quarterback runs? Yeah, the traditional run game is spotty at best, but this isn't sustainable. That 50-yard touchdown with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter was sweet, though. So Gonzo kind of on my side, and a lot of people's side, I think. Lastly, on Facebook, Tracy says, O-line still questionable. Okay. Now, over to Twitter, at Lee Benson Tweets. My old buddy Joey Helmer. Joey says, targeting needs amended. Now, I did see a lot of that, and I'm sorry, I guess maybe because I watched the game after, not live, and I wasn't, but I did not really have any issues with any of the targeting stuff. I
don't either. I didn't either. You hit the quarterback high. It's targeting 100% of the time. In the NFL, it's a 15-yard penalty 100% of the time. You hit a quarterback high, it's on you at this. So like I'm much more upset with our Mason Thomas. Like that's very easily avoidable.
I guess if you want to be consistent, I suppose was it Hardy that was reviewed for targeting, and then he didn't get called for. I was actually kind of surprised that wasn't targeting. I kind of thought that was. So I guess maybe to be consistent, I was a little bit surprised that wasn't targeting.
People saying that you reviewed that, but you didn't even review the Keontae Lewis one, which was not targeting. But people saying
I didn't even stop to look at that because I didn't even consider that to be targeting.
But
there was not even any point where that looked like targeting.
But the fact that he was knocked out and they didn't even stop the game to look at it, like people have a gripe there. I think that's legitimate.
But I mean, if nothing, they had plenty of time while he was out to look at it.
That could have been what happened. I don't know. So, but yeah, it was not targeting. That was a quarterback getting his wide receiver hurt, is what that was.
So, hey man, I love you, Joey. But yeah, I don't see the targeting issues that everybody else seems to see. Our old friend Josh Adams says business-like approach, and OU fans bang. It's a good day when Josh throws his bang out there. And Josh adds a note. He says, we showed up to Philly in style. The fans were everywhere, and we heard many locals comment on how nice everybody was. Well, good. Grant, ever been to Philadelphia?
I haven't, but I also heard that if you're in Philadelphia and you don't punch a stranger in the face, they think you're the nicest person in the world. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
not at all surprised. It sounds like from a lot of people who were there saying that OU had the fan advantage, which does not surprise me at all. I anticipated that years ago when the game was scheduled.
Agree. Next one up on at Lee Benson Tweets. Zach says Grant called it. Did you call that? Called the game?
I got pretty close to the final score. My score prediction was 44-7.
That's pretty good. I got OU's exact point total, I think. I said 42-14. So I get half of it. I underestimated OU's defense, Lastly, nope, never mind. Sorry. Two more. Hype Man Harry says, oh, yeah, and this is been a storyline. He says no turnovers. And, how about, I know it's a storyline, and Venables was asked about it after the game. Through 3 games, the defense has been so good, but there's no turnovers. And, you want some turnovers. I know you almost had one. The ball was on the ground. They didn't recover it against Temple. But here's the thing. It's so wild that OU's like one of, 6 or 7 teams that has not forced a turnover yet this year. I mean, there's not many. And yet they're one of the best defenses probably in college football right now. I mean, that could change. And all the years of us, with Alex Grinch and get a turnover and they couldn't get them. And it's I honestly, Grant, I haven't even thought about them not having a turnover because they've been so good.
It's been so good. They're forcing a 3 and out on half of their possessions. That's great.
It's crazy.
I do think
they're so good that I haven't even noticed they hadn't forced a turnover yet.
Them not forcing any turnovers definitely is playing into their, if you go to the analytics stuff, their average starting field position is in the bottom 10% in college football. And the no turnovers is definitely playing a part in that. But I don't know. They have a lot of havoc plays. They lead the country in defensive success rate. If that keeps up, the turnovers will come, especially once they start playing traditional drop back passing teams, which as of right now, they're not playing a team like that until they play Ole Miss in a month. So I did not see that one coming.
I mean, Texas is going to want to drop back and pass.
Arch is terrible.
Yeah, but he's
great.
He's going to drop back and pass, though. It's not like he's run the option
sweet.
or anything.
I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
All right, one guy left. OU Boom on Twitter. Twitter X says O-line underachieved. So another negative O-line 3-word review. OU Boom also says running game concerns. And then targeting change required. It's another targeting issue. We gave our piece on the targeting. All right, thanks for the 3-word reviews. 3-word reviews, guys. Appreciate the feedback. And back over to Grant. What's next?
How about we move on? Lee, you referenced the SEC availability report earlier. That came out about an hour ago. Fresh off the presses here. Hot off the presses. Here it is, Lee. This is pretty interesting. I'm going to say, because you already mentioned someone who was not on there, Jade Knott. I'm going to start this off by saying another really notable name who is not on there. Gentry Williams is not on the injury report.
Good call. Excellent.
That's a very good thing. But I also think the questionable designations here, I think are the out too. I mean, look at all the offensive linemen here, out or questionable. We didn't mention this. Troy Everett's out for the season. That was announced by Venables earlier this week. Sounds like he blew out his knee, and it sounds like it's his other knee that wasn't hurt. So guy can't catch a break. That's too bad for Troy Everett. And also, I mean, Michaela is the only center on the team now. That's not true. I know they have a walk on. They got Owen Hollenbeck as well, but you want to be good at that position, and Michaela is really the only thing left there. Jacob Sexton, I think he has a long-term injury, maybe not season-ending, but he's going to be out for a while. Jake Taylor, hasn't been healthy for a single second that he has been in an OU uniform. Giovanni Gibson and Eli Bowen, doubtful. I don't think that's a big surprise. It'd be cool if they're back for Kent State. I would really like them to get some sort of ramp up before potentially having to play against Texas. And that's more for Giovanni Gibson as far as I'm concerned. I still don't think we're going to see much of Eli Bowen all season. I just don't think that's going to happen. He hasn't played football.
Yeah, man, you may have called it there weeks ago.
He hasn't played football since the Air Force game. He got hurt really early in the spring. It's just been sort of wishy-washy ever since then. And the corners are playing well. So he may be afforded some time there to actually get healthy. We go to the questionable thing. This is where it gets interesting. I did not know that Zion Kearney was dealing with anything, so that's new to me. And then Wee Woo here, and so this is not something that I caught during the game, but he apparently got rolled up on real bad in the second half of that game, and he tried to come back and gut it out for a couple of plays, and they ended up pulling him. And so they were talking about it on the Sooner Scoop podcast earlier today, so it's open knowledge now. But they were saying he's got a high ankle sprain. Wee Woo does. So, which is, that's not not going to have to amputate. That's not season ending, but that's also an annoying thing. That's one where it's like he's got to sit down for a few weeks for that to really like he should be able to play on it. But that's high ankle sprains are. I've had one. They're way nastier than they should be. They're stupid. They're so dumb. But it's just really difficult to do anything like laterally on a high ankle sprain. So watch out for that one. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't see Fabechi. And he's questionable on here, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone if he does not go on Saturday, which I think would be a pretty big blow. Fasusi being on here, I wish he wasn't. They really need him to play. They need him to play on because that was one of my takeaways after watching the game on Saturday. I think Michael Fasusi is their best offensive lineman. And so they need him to play against a team that has a pretty good defensive front. Michael also got rolled up on in the game. It was in garbage time, too, against Temple. And that's where it really hurt that Everett got hurt this week because you would have definitely wanted Troy Everett in that situation. I think the scuttlebutt is that Michael's ankle is not quite as serious as Wee Woo's, but something to look at for sure. Isaiah Autry-Dent. Haven't heard really anything about him at all, so I don't know if that's a big deal. Marvin Jones Jr., that one's interesting. I did not know he was dealing with something. So not sure about that at all. I'm hoping that is kind of nothing. We'll see him on Saturday. But they have some depth at that position, fortunately. And very, very good to see Keontae Lewis in the probable thing. I don't know if they would put him in there if they didn't think he had a pretty good chance of playing.
Okay, so not great. The center position is problematic now because we'll see how injured Michael is, but Michael gets hurt or it re-aggravates. They can't be playing Hollenbeck. They can't be starting a true freshman center. I think he's a true freshman.
Well, that's where it gets weird because Wee Woo is now the backup center, but Wee Woo is also hurt. So
okay, so that's what I'm thinking is,
listen.
This is where you start.
They're nowhere near as injured as they were last year. They're not, but they are pretty much just as injured on the offensive line this year as they were last year.
I mean, this is kind of out of nowhere. My thought is with Wee Woo as well, but then like you open up guard. I mean, you kind of can Ryan Foje? Can he play center? Can they start? You got to start working him at center.
But I mean, if Wee Woo can't go on Saturday, I mean, Foje is going to start at right guard, so it helps.
Yeah, so that's a problem too. So Luke Baklenko can he play guard or something? He's he's good depth on the outside, but boy, that's don't love that.
No,
maybe Daniel Akinkunmi. Remember he's supposed to be something. I know he's a tackle, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't.
They need some inside help.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. It's pretty simple. I think you play the guys in this game that feel like they can go, and then you pray to the schedule gods, and you just say, man, that bye week is coming at the perfect time. So I mean, they gotta win this game. You got to get through this game. So if these guys who are hurt, if you can muster up anything, you got to go. You have to. And you got to get through this game because then you can sit these guys against Kent State. You absolutely can. And that's okay.
I mean, Fasusi will go. He'll play. Wee Woo, I don't know. High ankle sprains are nasty.
No, I think. They were saying it's open knowledge now. I mean, people who are close to the program are getting on podcasts and saying don't expect him to play this week. So, that sucks. It's not. I mean, that's a body that you can't really afford to lose. And I don't think Wee Woo's really anything special, but he's experienced and he's a guy who has started a lot of games in college. So I don't think that's a great thing right now. That's what I'm saying. Get through this game. You got to get through this game. You get a week off. You essentially get 2 weeks off because you got Kent State, and you can start Owen Hollenbeck against Kent State. That's something you can do. So, and then you got 4 or 5 days of recovery after that before you got to start going through walkthroughs for Texas, and that's when you need to be ready to go.
Oh boy, yeah, that's not fun. The injury situation is not expected and be a fun challenge. And by fun, I mean a terrible challenge. Not fun, a scary challenge. All right, let's turn our attention to Saturday's game. OU hosting Auburn, and you know what time it is. It's OU opponent superlatives, courtesy of Grant.
Thank you, Lee. This is the San Diego County Credit Union OU opponent superlative, brought to you by Denny's. On Saturday afternoon, your Oklahoma Sooners welcome the Auburn Tigers to Norman, Oklahoma for the first time ever. Auburn has never beaten Oklahoma in a game of tackle football. The Sooners are 3-0 all-time against the Tigers. The first meeting ever was in the Sugar Bowl at the conclusion of the 1971 season, a game in which Jack Mildren led the Sooners to a 40-22 shellacking of Auburn to cap off an 11-1 season and a number 2 final ranking. Auburn quarterback Jackson Arnold will be making his return to Owen Field after transferring in the offseason. Power 4 quarterbacks playing against their former teams have not fared well since the start of the 2024 season. Last year, transfer quarterbacks playing their former team were 1-4, the only win being Ethan Kaliak-Manis's Rutgers Scarlet Knights, beating his former team, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. There's only been one occurrence of this so far in 2025. Duke's Darian Mensah lost to his former Tulane squad last week, 34-27. Jackson Arnold was 5-1 last season as a starter at Owen Field. However, he only averaged 138 yards passing per game in those games, at a clip of 6.2 yards per attempt to go along with 5 turnovers. I bet you're asking, oh, he's coming in. He's a visiting quarterback this week. Well, yeah. On the road a season ago, Arnold did not throw an interception, but he did fumble 5 times in only 3 road starts, and he lost 3 of those fumbles. Coming into Saturday's game, Lee, Jackson Arnold has not yet turned the ball over this season. Lee, what have you seen on Auburn so far?
All right, so obviously I'm going to start on Jackson Arnold. And from what I've seen, I think he looks pretty similar to what we saw last season, in a sense that like nothing ever really looks smooth with Jackson Arnold. He always seems to be playing a little bit too fast, and I'm not sure he really understands what he's trying to see in the passing game still. Like if Arnold's first read isn't there, he tends to either hold on to the ball too long or immediately bail on the play and run. And by the way, he has been sacked 7 times so far already this season, 4 of those coming against Ball State. Hugh Freeze is not asking him to throw it as much as Arnold was asked to throw early on last year at Oklahoma. So far through 3 games, he's averaged 23 attempts per game. Through 3 games last year at Oklahoma, he averaged a little bit more than 28.5 attempts through the first 3 games. So Seth Luttrell was asking him to do a heck of a lot more than Hugh Freeze is asking him to do so far through the air. So that's like all the negative stuff that kind of looks the same. The positives, Arnold, still incredibly athletic, and he's a terrific runner. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns already this season. That's more than Arnold had all of last year. Hugh Freeze is much better at putting him in positions to succeed compared to Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley. Auburn's skill position players are pretty good, and the offensive line is seasoned around him. And Arnold, so far, it seems like he's taken a lot of free yards in the passing game. His completion percentage is excellent at 69%. His yards per attempt so far is fine, 7.3, but that's way better than the 5.8 he had last year at Oklahoma, and that's when he completed 62% of his passes. So a low percentage and also low yards per attempt last season. So Jackson Arnold so far has been a much more efficient player by a wide margin. And as you mentioned, Grant, it's definitely worth noting is that he has not turned the ball over yet this year, which to me goes to show that a big part of the turnover issues was just the offense he was in and the positions he was put in and having to do way too much. And so far, Hugh Freeze has been able to protect him and keep him out of tough spots. And so Jackson Arnold, for the most part, has played pretty darn well for Auburn. What have you seen?
So I think Auburn is doing a good job of putting him in good situations. And part of that does have to do with them protecting him for sure, like you already said. They're not asking him to execute a traditional drop back passing game where he goes through 3 or 4 progressions. That's not a thing. And I like how I agree with you when you say like he plays at a very like a frantic pace. Like everything is, even when he's in the pocket and he's got a clean pocket, he's always chopping his feet. He's always moving like a million miles an hour. It doesn't necessarily look like he's processing at a million miles an hour. It's almost like he's getting a head start before he tucks tail, bails, and runs. And so, but it's not necessarily that I've seen like a whole lot of, 1 read, 2 read, now get up and run. I see just a lot of designed QB run game too. So I want to credit Hugh Freeze for knowing who Jackson Arnold is and putting him in those situations to succeed, because we've seen it. If you create a run-centric game plan where the quarterback keeping it is like a big threat and something that the defense has to account for, then Jackson Arnold can be a really effective player in that regard. If you're going to ask him to win you the game on his, with his right shoulder, you're going to have a bad time. I think a lot of it, and a lot of that is we're still going off of last season because he just hasn't been put in that situation yet so far this year. So I would say, like, so I've watched the entire Baylor game. I've watched the first half of the South Alabama game. I didn't see much of the Ball State game. That's Auburn's offensive numbers in that game are really good. Jackson was throwing the ball down the field in that game. But I do think it's interesting in the one game where they've kind of put a little bit more on his plate, and it probably wasn't that much because it was against Ball State, who is, per SP Plus, the second worst team in the FBS right now. The one game where they're like, hey, yeah, let's let some deeper routes develop. Let's let you throw the ball downfield a little bit. The guy got sacked 4 times. And to OU fans who watched this guy a ton last year, I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody. So what I'm seeing is a lot of QB keep run game, especially with a lot of window dressing, a lot of motion attached to it. One thing I've noticed is, man, they really like to send Eric Singleton Jr. in motion and snap the ball and do like a little fake jet sweep to him. That's one of their core plays, and they've run it. That's the play that they killed Baylor on routinely, and it wasn't with Singleton. It was Jackson pulling it and then running power between the tackles, and that's what he scored. That's the play that he scored both of his touchdowns on. I saw against South Alabama that they would give it to Singleton in those situations. He's a fast guy. He's fast. He gets to the edge really quickly, so that's something I'm assuming that OU is going to have a counter for sure, because that may be their number one base core play. What I think is interesting, because I think right now the conventional wisdom on Auburn is that they've been great offensively this season, and they've been good, no doubt about it. But I don't think the numbers necessarily spell out a great offensive performance up to this point. Through 3 weeks, Auburn has faced the SP Plus number 71 defense. That's Baylor. The SP Plus number 132 defense, that's Ball State, and SP Plus number 93, that's South Alabama. Auburn is averaging 6.27 yards per play, and compared to OU, who's at 6.36, that's not a huge difference. But OU has faced a legit top 10 defense already this season, whereas Auburn has mostly played teams that they should lean on pretty easily. So what I see from Auburn is a team that runs the ball really effectively, and I think they scheme a lot of good stuff in the run game. So don't be surprised if they crease OU a few times in this game, because that's their bread and butter. That's what they're going to do. But I see a team that's not particularly explosive. So I already said the 6.27 yards per play for Auburn, which is decent. But Auburn is top 5 in the country right now in offensive success rate. They're 55% overall. OU's is at an even 50% this year of success rate. But if you're top 5 in successful plays, like percentage of successful plays in an offense, you would hope that you'd be a little bit more explosive than 6.2 yards per play. And I'm watching Auburn, and they're just not particularly explosive, but that's what's going to happen when you don't have much threat of a downfield passing game. And so I haven't seen anything through the first 3 weeks that says that they're going to have that in this game. I'm sure they're going to have wrinkles. They're going to have some shot plays dialed up that they feel pretty good at, that they call in advantageous situations. And it's going to be all about how well does OU's corners hold up, whether or not it's Cortland Guillory, Gentry Williams, Davon Jordan, stuff like that, against guys like, I think it's going to be mostly Cam Coleman on the outside. I think Singleton is going to be mostly a slot guy. But can you body those guys up? Can you knock them off their routes a little bit? And even then, is it a guarantee that Jackson Arnold's going to be able to hit those guys anyway? We all know that no, it's not. So I think if you take away the narratives from this game, with Jackson Arnold coming back and it just being the first SEC game, I think there's still a lot built into Brent Venables and how this almost kind of feels like a must-win game for him again. But I think if you strip away all of those narratives and you just look at who have these two teams been through the first 3 weeks of the season, I think OU being a 6.5-point favorite into this game is pretty reasonable. And I also think it's reasonable to expect OU to maybe to extend a lead against this game or against this team and maybe win this game by double digits. I just think I think OU's defense going up against this Auburn offense is a pretty good matchup for OU that's in their favor.
So more on Auburn's offense. So I spoke mostly about Jackson Arnold. As far as just the skill guys, you mentioned Singleton. He seems to be, to me, Arnold's favorite target. I mean, he's leading the team in receptions, but obviously Cam Coleman's there as well. And Arnold's going to try to get him the football. At running back, Jeremiah Cobb. I like him. He's their top back. He wasn't supposed to be their main guy. Damari Alston's been banged up and injured. He's probable, so we're going to see Alston play on Saturday. But I like Jeremiah Cobb. He's been there. Like, he's just kind of been a backup guy, and then boom, he's busted out. So I think around him and the offensive line, I think for Auburn has played pretty well. So it's all working in Jackson Arnold's favor. I've liked what I've seen from there. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, as well as he's played, I think it's because a lot of it we're comparing it to last year where he was very underwhelming, and he's played a lot better than he did last season. But there still is a lot there, a lot of signs of last season where the downfield passing game just isn't quite there. And man, I'm sure if we went back and watched his first start, that bowl game, the Alamo Bowl, I bet he looks so different in the pocket, because I remember praising him for how calm and quiet he would be in the pocket surveying the field in that game. And now it's very frenetic. He almost, I can tell Hugh Freeze is really getting him, harping on him to get the ball out quick, which is good. It's smart, but he almost, like, he shot puts the ball a lot, like he short arms it. And I don't know, maybe that was his style last year. I just forgot about it, but it kind of looks weird to me. Like, not John Mateer slinging it sidearm, kind of awkward, weird, but sometimes it looks like Arnold's just kind of pushing the ball, like, because he's trying to get rid of it so fast. So I don't know, maybe that's just me. Other than that, the defense, Auburn's defense, and I don't know if you touched much on the defense. If not, you can get on it. Like, this is not really surprising after watching that Baylor game and watching a couple other games. The secondary for Auburn looks to be their weak link. I mean, Baylor shredded them through the air. You talked about the tight end earlier, Trigg. I liked what South Alabama did at times last week. And so and that's Major Applewhite, by the way, at South Alabama, scheming things up, calling plays. So I'd like to think that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer can find ways to exploit the back end of this Auburn defense. And if they don't, I'd be really disappointed after what I've seen on tape for the first 3 games. And so that's and the last thing on the defense, and I'll turn it over to you, is the run defense for Auburn. Statistically, is one of the best in college football. But South Alabama was able to find some room last week. I think Torley Blaylock can get his yards in this game. And, of course, Mateer is going to be asked to do his part as well. So I think Oklahoma it's not going to be like gashing them and stuff, but maybe similar to what they did against Michigan, maybe a little bit better if Blaylock can get more into a groove. Although I will say I am concerned now, learning more and more about the offensive line injuries. That does bother me.
Yeah, I think this secondary can be had for sure. And you look at the box score against Baylor, and Sawyer Robinson, he threw for like 417 yards, something like that. And he was, I wouldn't say that there was a ton of guys for Baylor just running wide open in that game. But also when you give up 417 yards passing, I thought Robertson was probably a little bit too comfortable in the pocket at times for Auburn's liking in that game. I think that bodes well for OU for sure. One of the things that I keep seeing is that I I haven't necessarily seen a great pass rush from them when they're rushing organically, just four guys. They can heat you up when they blitz for sure, but I think that almost goes right into OU's hands. Mateer's been great this year when he's blitzed, just because he's so elusive, and he I think he does a really good job of finding the hot receiver when guys blitz. So looking forward to that. I was only able to watch the first half of that South Alabama game, but if it's just the first half, I'm going. I didn't think Auburn was that sharp in that game. I thought there was too much that South Alabama was having success with, and there were too many instances. I mean, there was a couple of passes that Jackson Arnold threw into trouble for sure, that guys could have made a play on, and he could potentially turn the ball over. He also made some nice throws as well. But they did not necessarily seem like they were all in on that game. And so we talked about how impressed we were with OU showing up to Temple in a letdown spot and coming out with their hair on fire. I think you can argue pretty safely at this point that's not how Auburn looked against South Alabama last week. And so what does that say about this upcoming game? Maybe something, maybe nothing. But I do think it is significant that South Alabama was able to have some success against them on the offensive side of the ball. And it wasn't like Auburn was moving the ball at will. Like, they were in control of the game and they were the better team, but they did not impose their will, probably in the way that a lot of their fans wanted them to. So defensively, I think you're right there. Like I already said, the secondary can be had for sure. I think that's the weak link of their team. And we talked about one of their starting corners is doubtful for the game, so it's looking like he's not going to play. It'd be really great if Keontae Lewis is cleared for this. That would make me feel a whole lot better, because I think one of the reasons why right now I would take Oklahoma's offense over Auburn's, despite Auburn probably having a better run game, having a better offensive line, is because OU completes forward passes at a pretty high level this year, which is why they've been more explosive than Auburn as well. And so I think they'll be able to exploit that against Auburn. At least I hope so, because I think Auburn's front seven is pretty good. They're pretty good against the run. And I don't think this doesn't need to be you run for 6.5 yards per carry and have 250 yards type of game. It's a 3 yards on first down just to kind of keep you a little bit ahead of the chains is going to do it, just so that they have to respect it a lot more, and just so that maybe you can get you can spring Mateer on something. So I think a lot of people have been saying this is really similar to the Michigan game, and I've seen some pushback on that, but I actually think that's pretty close. I mean, I think Michigan's defense is better than Auburn's. I think it's clear watching them. I think Michigan just has better players on defense. Auburn might have the best player amongst those two defenses in Keldrick Falk, but I think overall Michigan has better athletes on the defensive side of the ball. So I think OU has already seen a defense this year that is better than Auburn's. This is the best offense that OU has faced this season for sure. It's the most functional. Weirdly, I think Bryce Underwood is probably a more talented, better passer than Jackson Arnold is. Jackson Arnold is working with an offensive system that is putting him in better situations, and he's got better pass catchers as well. So I think in one sense, I don't know if Auburn is a huge threat to throw the ball in this game, but on one end, this is still the biggest test for OU's relatively green cornerback room, which I think is interesting, because even if Jackson Arnold is not hitting them, if Auburn has guys open, that's something that we're going to be able to see later on. And so, like, for instance, if Arnold just can't get the ball out and he's holding it for a long time, but we can still see Cam Coleman getting separation from Cortland Guillory or something like that, that's probably something to kind of tuck in the back of our mind for later. But you never know. Maybe they perform well and they're up for the challenge. So I think it's gonna be an interesting game. But I think the 6.5 point spread for OU is correct.
I think you're selling Auburn's offense short against South Alabama. I think in the first half they were pretty good. I thought they did what they needed to do.
They did what they needed, and I think that describes Auburn's offense to a T. They're pretty good.
So that game was weird. The second half was the final score was pretty misleading. Auburn only had like 2 possessions in the second half. Like it was, and same with South Alabama. They were really long possessions. And so it was a very misleading score, I thought. And even South Alabama, like they were down by multiple possessions, but Major Applewhite wasn't really going that fast at the end of the game. Like he was just trying to like pick up first downs and stuff. So But I think defensively you could argue that maybe Auburn's defense wasn't that great, but also South Alabama's not that bad. They almost knocked off. I think they lost by like a field goal to a pretty good team before. They played Auburn. I can't think of it. Who is it?
Yeah, South Alabama. I mean, they're probably going to go to a bowl game. They're a good Sun Belt team, but
Tulane. They got beat by Tulane by like 2. Tulane's solid team. But okay. Anyway, so let's talk about what we want to see happen, right? And I'll start, and I'll go with what we want to have happen, see happen on the offensive side of the ball. And number one for me is throw the ball around, man. Show us that Sawyer Robinson game in week 1 wasn't a fluke, and that Auburn's back end can be had, and that John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle are able to scheme some things up against what looks to be potentially a secondary that's not very good. That maybe it's kind of like Oklahoma's secondary so far through the Brent Venables era, minus this season. Whereas you play against a team that can't throw the ball, you're going to have some openings there and give up big plays. That's number one. Number two, control the game, control the clock. Like, play at your own pace. Like, be comfortable. Keep that going for the 4th straight game. And lastly, on offense, I want to see another running back emerge besides Torrey Blaylock. And the most likely candidate for that is obviously Xavier Robinson. Heck, I mean, sure, Javonte Barnes will get his run. Maybe he'll have a Michigan-like game where they put him in great spots and he performs. And we're like, whoa, great job, Javonte Barnes. You did your job really well. But I'd prefer to see somebody other than Blaylock explosively show that they can run the ball. And, again, Xavier Robinson would be great. Man, I really want to see Tatum if he can get healthy. I would like to see him get a shot again because he's got juice. I know he fumbled a lot last year. I don't really care. I want to see him in this offense, being put in positions to succeed, not like last year. I think with his talent, I think we could see something from him. Again, Jade Knott looks like a long shot right now, but obviously it'd be great if it was him. If the light came on between Temple and between Auburn. So that's what I want to see on offense. Grant, what about you?
Yeah, I want to just be a little bit more specific with what you said because you stole a lot of mine there. I want to see them toss the rock around. I want to see a 400-yard John Mateer game here. But I also would like them. I'd like them to do that within the flow of the game. I still want them to control the pace, like you said. More specifically, I'd like to see Deion Burks reestablish himself. He was a little quiet against Temple. He's a guy against Michigan. I think we saw what Deion Burks can be at the peak of his abilities. I'd like to see him show up in this game. At the first SEC game, this is a big game, man. I'd like to see him show up and have a great game. I'd also like to see another receiving threat emerge outside of kind of the core 4 that we've seen so far: Burks, Satania, Lewis, and Kanik. I want to see those 4 guys have a great game, but I'd like to see someone else emerge as well, whether that be a Zion Kearney, whether that be an Elijah Thomas, whether that be another one of the tight ends, who knows, whether that be a running back, I'm not sure, but I'd like to see something emerge there. And last but not least, on the offensive side of the ball, especially on the offensive line, I want to see everybody get out of this game healthy. Give everything you got in this game to get through this game healthy, win this game, and then you get about 18 days off before you got to get ready for your walkthrough against Texas. And I think that's what the mindset needs to be for the offensive line going into this.
Well, since I stole a lot of your offensive ones, I'll let you go first on the defensive side in case you'll probably take some of mine.
Well, what I want to see the most from the defense in this game is I want them to make Jackson Arnold look like Jackson Arnold. And how do you do that? You shut down the run, you read your keys, you understand what they're trying to do, you don't fall for the window dressing that Hugh Freeze is undeniably going to throw at you. There's going to be so much window dressing, so many things they're going to throw out there to try to confuse OU's defense, try to get some explosives. Don't fall for it. Lean on your dominant defensive line to get penetration, stop that run game, and then, man, get a lead. Get up by 2 scores so that you force them to resort to the downfield passing game. Because, man, I'd love to see Jackson Arnold on that field down by 17 points, needing to throw the ball down the field to win this game against this defense. I want to see that so bad. That's what everyone in those stands wants to see. That place, It's been about 3 or 4 years since I've seen a game in that stadium. Actually, that's not true. It's been about a year and a half. We were at the TCU game. It's easy to forget, but I want to see that place rocking when Jackson Arnold is on the field. Everybody in that stadium knows that guy does not handle pressure well. Heat his butt up. Heat him up. And you know what? If he beats you down the field, you tip your cap because it's the first time he's ever done it in his career.
And by the way, I had no issues with Jackson Arnold.
Oh, I don't either.
I wish him the best. I don't have any animosity towards the guy. I think he was put in a lot of bad spots. I kind of wish his football IQ was better. I think as the season went on, we kind of learned that, man, this guy kind of dumb. And also I think Michael Hawkins might be kind of dumb too. Hopefully he's learning a lot more under Arbuckle. But, yeah, I mean, I'm happy that Arnold's done well so far, but obviously don't want to see him do well this week. For me, secondary. Take advantage. I'll kind of piggyback off parts of what you're saying. Take advantage of Jackson Arnold's inability to process quickly. Think back to a little more than a year ago, August 24. Of all the stories that we would hear of is Michael Hawkins nipping at Jackson Arnold's heels, and like, man, he's struggling. Like and it's like, well, was the defense just making him look bad and taking advantage of him? Sounds like it. This defense, granted, it's kind of a different defense, but a lot of the same guys, especially in the secondary, they picked him off in practice a lot last year, and like they're gonna be like, oh, this will be fun. Granted, new offense, he's gonna be put in a lot better spots. So, if I'm so happy with the secondary so far. It's through 3 games. They passed every test. If the secondary for Oklahoma this year truly is good for the first time, like really is good for the first time under Brent Venables, like consistently good, this should not be a quarterback or a pass offense that gives them fits. If it does, that's going to be a bad sign. So that's one part that I want to see happen. Another thing, another Jackson Arnold related, what I want to see on defense. Prevent Jackson from being able to get chunk yards through the A and B gaps. Like, I don't like when he gives up on a pass play after burning his first read and then just gives up and darts for like 11 yards through the B gap. Like, have a guy there to prevent that. That's just, I don't think they're really scheming that. Maybe they are, but that should not be that easy.
I don't know if it's schemed, but I'm sure it's taught. If it's not there, man, get out of there. I bet that's drilled into.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It makes me wonder too, because we talked about processing a lot in this show, in this episode. But what do we know about Jackson Arnold? When you like, what did we talk about at this time last year when we were going back and watching, like especially in the RPO game? It's like, does this guy know how to count? Like I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the box. Why are you throwing it? Type deal.
He's still struggling with that.
So what I'm saying is there are going to be some very intentional looks by Brent Venables of making his brain all screwy with the count in the box. They're going to do that a lot in this game.
It's a good
point.
It's
going to happen. It's going to happen right before he snaps it. They're going to shift into what they actually are, and it's going to throw him totally off of his game. Because we saw it last season. And this is a defense that very obviously is comfortable doing stuff like that because they're experienced and they play really well as a group. So they can get away with that stuff. And I think that's going to be fun to see, because if that's something that they execute at a high level, I think talking about how there's no takeaways yet, that's when they start coming for sure.
Well, that's a good transition. My final, what I want to see is force a turnover. It'd almost be too on the nose, though. Jackson Arnold comes into the game not having turned the ball over yet this year. OU hasn't. I mean, this is not breaking news. I'm sure plenty of other podcasts and OU people have pointed this out. It would be almost too on the nose for OU to get their first turnovers off of Jackson Arnold, but it very much could happen, and I definitely want to see that happen on Saturday. All right, Grant, what will happen on Saturday, 2:30, ABC, OU versus Auburn?
Been kind of going back and forth on this one. I feel pretty good about this game, but as soon as I start to get too far in one direction, feeling good about it, there's always that voice in the back of my head coming back and saying, it's reminding me of the last 3 years. And we're going back. I go back to the Michigan game too, where the Brent Venables teams of the first 3 years, they're not going to win this game. And to me, right, like that narrative of Jackson Arnold coming back to Owen Field for a team that he was so bad with a season ago, and then getting a win for his team. Let's face it, step outside of your OU shoes for a moment. That's a good story. That's obviously a good story. The whole idea of Jackson Arnold coming back here and OU dominating him and him looking like Jackson Arnold of last year, that's something that would be cathartic to us and something that would feel really good. That would be really great for OU's story this season. I'm feeling pretty optimistic at this point in time. I've really liked what I've seen from this team so far this year, and and I know it was Temple, it's whatever, but their mentality, the way that they came out, made me feel really good about it. And I think they're going to come out in this game with a business-like mentality, and I think this is a team. I think finally we've seen it for the first time, maybe 15 seasons. This is a defense-led team, and the offense ain't bad either, which is really great. I think the defense is going to come out with their head on fire. I think Auburn is really going to struggle to run the ball consistently. I think they're going to have some explosives for sure, but I think in terms of like their success rate and how often they can be able to have successful plays against OU, I still think that's going to be a pretty low number still. I think there's going to be a lot of plays stopped at the line of scrimmage, a lot of negative plays, and I think we're going to see money line Mateer in this game. I think we're going to see the good John Mateer, and call me overconfident, call me whatever, but I feel really good about this game, Lee. OU 37, Auburn 10.
Oh, okay. That's very much a lot of confidence speaking. For me, I like the Sooners. As I've been thinking about this, my first thought was that maybe a slow start by Oklahoma. Auburn actually looks pretty good and maybe wins the first quarter, or maybe Auburn wins the first half. But then the more I thought about it, the more I think that it's more likely that Oklahoma plays better than Auburn in the first half and starts strong. I mean, it's a home game. The Sooners have started really fast the last 2 games. Opening drive touchdown against Michigan, opening drive touchdown against Temple, and then a bunch more scoring drives. Auburn, their last game against South Alabama, they did score on the opening drive, but the previous 2, they opened and punted. So just being at home is going to be very helpful. I was thinking about it, went back and look at last year. Obviously, OU won on the Plains last year. It was a bizarre game. Oklahoma probably shouldn't have won. They got a lucky pick six. Kip Six did a nice job. But, it was a game that Oklahoma should not have won. They really shouldn't have. And what did Auburn do so well in that game, and why were they in position to win? That Peyton Thorne just shredded OU. I mean, he had his best game of his career. And OU was pretty good against the run last season. They shut down Auburn's run game pretty good, 3.2 yards per carry, not that good. Can Jackson Arnold shred Oklahoma through the air like Peyton Thorne did last season? I don't think he can. I don't. And we haven't really seen evidence of that so far this season through 3 games. So if Jackson Arnold's not going to be able to shred OU through the air, I tend to kind of think that the run game is going to be pretty good again. I guess the wild card is that Peyton Thorne was not really a running quarterback, and how does the Auburn run game fare now that Jackson Arnold's that 11th guy and he's a pretty good runner? Does that change the math? Does that make Auburn better at rushing Saturday compared to last year? Maybe. That's definitely different. So I factor that in. The thing is, though, when I came down to my final score, I wanted to go not as high as you. That's pretty aggressive.
I know. There's some. But, I'm just feeling good is all.
No, that's fine. But man, these offensive line injuries, they worry me. And Auburn's defensive line is good. I mean, they might be able to get after Mateer, and maybe that you mentioned earlier this podcast that Mateer's going to have a game where he throws up and it's a kind of a stinker, maybe 2. Well, what if it's this game? It's a home game. You don't want to be. But with offensive line problems potentially, that could happen. That worries me. But ultimately, my prediction, I'm going to go OU wins 24-14. And I think back to 2023, because that was a good start to the season. And, I made just random comments throughout the offseason like, hey, maybe Brent Venables is an every other year kind of guy. 2023 was good, at least better. And then, maybe 2025 will be better. And so far, 2025 has been excellent. It's been an excellent start. In 2023, Oklahoma started 4-0. Game 4, OU, that was the game you and I were at on the road at Cincinnati. And it was a road game. This one's a home game, but that was an ugly 20-6 victory. But Oklahoma controlled that game, and there wasn't really any moment where Cincinnati was like, oh, they could win this game. OU got the job done. And so that's what I'm going to use as my thoughts for Saturday. I think Oklahoma's gonna get the job done. They're going to control it. Jackson's going to get maybe one or two here and there, but ultimately I think OU wins the game by 10 points, 24-14.
I want the record to show that if OU were to win this game 20-6 in a very similar vein to that game at Cincinnati 2 years ago, I would be ecstatic. Would be very, very happy with that. So I think it's going to be a fun game. It's an awesome game. This is when you go to the SEC, these are like the types of games that I think you get excited for. It's a week 4, 2:30 kickoff, but it feels big. It feels like an important game. And I think we were on here talking about how the Michigan game was going to set the tone for the rest of the season. I think this is actually the one. I mean, this is because it's so quick. Like, you win this game, you get a bye week, and you're going to play Kent State, which might be the worst team in the FBS, before you get to play Texas. And I think a good, strong showing here can set the stage for the rest of the season. And I think the best part is that you have the best unit on your team, your defense, I just think has a really, really good matchup against what this Auburn team does well. And I think if you're going to force Auburn to play left-handed, which is you're going to force Jackson Arnold to beat you down the field consistently, I don't think he's proven that he can do that. And I think that's a really good spot for Oklahoma to be in, especially with the home crowd on their side. And I'm fired up for this game. It's what a great antidote this game is to like anything that happened last season. They were 3-0 going into Game 4 in their SEC opener at home last year too, but it was a totally different tune that we had. Did not feel good about that game. Did not think it was going to go well, and it didn't. And
they were touchdown underdogs at home.
Yeah, this time they're touchdown favorites against a team that I think is probably pretty similar to that Tennessee team a year ago. I think that Tennessee defense probably better than this Auburn defense, and it's that Tennessee team probably a little bit better than this Auburn team. So, man, are you going to a game? Are you going to be there?
I don't know. Probably not. It's going to be an expensive ticket. Not going to be $50 tickets like the Bama Wisconsin game. You can't get to this game though, Grant, as a tone setter without the Michigan game, and you can't get to Kent State or Texas without this Auburn game, man. It's one after the other, man.
1 week at a time.
You don't.
1 week at a time.
That's why you don't look ahead. That's why I don't really think about all that stuff. I think, what's next?
But this is one of those games, right, where OU's defense has looked so impressive up to this point, and if we're watching this game, we're going to know if Auburn is struggling to move the ball. Like, it's not if it looks similar to like the Michigan game where it's like, yeah, I mean, Michigan had to cut their entire playbook in half because stuff is just not going to work against OU.
It was Chip Lindsey. He just didn't call the right plays, man. It wasn't Oklahoma's defense. It was Michigan's offense just choosing to be bad. All the Big Ten, Upper Midwest.
Yes.
Talking
yes,
heads.
For sure. So, if this is a game in which Auburn is really struggling to move the ball, and I think you're going to see an excitement in this fan base that you haven't seen in a really, really long time, because, man, it's been a long time since we've been able to say we can lean on that defense. And I tell you, it feels good. Like like I said, their offense is not chopped liver either. Like, they can move the ball and they can throw it, which is to me is the most important thing. So
the key is that secondary. If that secondary is as good as they've looked, like, for real, we've been waiting for this crap for a long time, and we're going to start. I mean, we're going to start seeing more and more. Oh man.
But
man,
anyway,
I love good secondaries.
Whew. They're fun to watch. And a good secondary paired with a dominant defensive line is,
oh my gosh,
man, that is like, yeah, that's clear your schedule, lock yourself in the room type situation right there, boys and girls. All right, Lee, this is not the only big-time football game this week. It's a pretty good slate this week, I think. It's pretty a lot of under-the-radar games. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen here. You can see sort of what this looks like behind the scenes. SEC, any SEC games that stand out to you? Ones that aren't the ones that we're saving for our pick of the week segment. I think Tulane and Ole Miss is kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I don't have a whole lot on that. I suppose the only thought, I mean, would anybody lay 41.5 with Texas right now against anybody?
I don't think so. That was on Monday. It's possible that I already went through and I updated all of the spreads for our week 3 picks. I did that like 20 minutes ago. So it's possible that's changed. But yeah, I don't know if Texas is capable of scoring 42 points against another FBS defense right now.
It's 40.5 now, but clearly Sam Houston, I know
they're bad.
KC Keeler not there. That's not great. But then again, that's right. They're FBS now. I forgot that. I kept thinking they were FCS.
Mm-hmm. I do think Arkansas 7.5 point favorite coming off of they put up a good showing on the road against Ole Miss last week. They're at Memphis, and Memphis is the highest ranked Group of 5 team per SP plus. So that could be an interesting game. But also that kind of comes off to me as like sort of an unwatchable game, even though Arkansas's offense has been great this year. They're averaging like 9 yards per play through 3 games. So, Lee, the other national games, we have some here safe for our picks, but I had to throw this one in here. Temple is going to Georgia Tech. Oh. And that's a game that I'm going to be interested in. I mean, it's going to be on during the OU game, so it's not like I'm going to be there. But don't be surprised if you check in, the game's tied at 17 in the third quarter, everybody.
Okay, nice. That's pretty good. Yeah, well, very, very interesting to watch Temple, see if that offense can kind of get back on track against a good Georgia Tech team. I mean, again, like they played 2 terrible teams, and then they played OU. So we'll see Georgia Tech, kind of a letdown spot, big win. Over Clemson that you and I were on the wrong side of last week. So, that's definitely an interesting game.
Because, like, if Temple comes out, what if Temple comes out and they score on them and they move the ball, like, up and down the field? And
yeah.
Because we didn't really talk about this, but, Michigan, a week removed from kind of having their offense dominated by Oklahoma, they came out and they averaged, like, over 10 yards per play against Central Michigan. They scored over 60. They looked really sharp. And so, Central Michigan is not any good, but you gotta you have to make those teams that you're way better than. You got to make them look bad, and that's clearly what they did. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see here, Arizona State and Baylor. That's kind of a Big 12 game. There's that game is nowhere near as important as it looked like in the preseason, with both of those teams taking on losses. But then your USC Trojans at home against Michigan State. It's a weird 3-0 Michigan State team. So. I don't know.
Well, they're much better coached now than they used to be, obviously.
Very much so, because you're Mel Tucker, your guy?
Jeez. Just such a terrible coach.
Ridiculous.
Was it Jonathan Smith, I believe, their head coach now?
He is, yeah.
Just previously the most generic name ever.
Previously of Oregon State. But
really good coach.
That's a pretty decent 10 p.m. Central Time kickoff to watch USC. They're averaging like 10 yards per play. USC is for the first 3 games.
Man, what are the odds that both Lincoln Riley and Brent Venables learn how to be a head coach the same exact college football season for the first time? What if USC's good? They might
Honestly,
be.
I mean, the only way that I would be like, yeah, that's kind of cool is if OU could play them like in a playoff situation. That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Well, we're going to find out if USC's good the next month. They got a pretty tough slate.
They definitely got some tests coming up.
Michigan State at Illinois, Michigan at Notre Dame. Yeah, we're going to find out pretty fast how good old Lynx team is this year.
All right. Move on to the week 3 pick segment. Lee, finally, wait, did you change this?
Yeah.
Did I get it wrong?
Yeah, man. You see that
Did
shows
I
how
give you an
honest
extra
I am.
win?
You did. Yeah.
So I beat you
I
last
was
week,
under 500 last. I was 2-3 last. I was due. I was due for a bad week. Well, I don't know. I mean, you didn't have them marked, so
Oh, well,
I guess
that's
you can
why.
look at the old rundown.
Yeah, we could.
But
So
I
I
don't know.
don't.
I mean,
I think you're mistaken because I just went by what we wrote down the last time. You went 3-2 last week.
no, I was 2-3.
Which ones did you lose? Tell me, because clearly you just remembered it.
I'll tell you the two that I won. I won Miami, which, by the way, if you listened to the podcast at the very end last week, I was saying, hey, I don't even want to say which game that I would pick out of the 5 because they were all hard because I just didn't want to poison the well. It was actually Miami. That was the one that if I would have picked any of them, that ended up being the one. So I got Miami and Tennessee correct, but I missed the other 3. Clemson, Notre Dame, and there was one more that I missed.
Okay, well, this is terrible podcasting. We'll go back to it. Either way, I was able to claw back to 500 for the season last week. I'm 9-9. You still having a really good year. You're 13-5, but you had your first losing week. We will see if you can get off the schneid this week. We're going to start with. I think this is probably the game of the. If you're thinking about playoffs, like as in what has the most playoff implications. And this is probably the game of the week. I think these are the 2 best teams in the Big 12. 17th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders playing an 11 a.m. This says ESPN, but it's actually on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox. That's my mistake. Utah is a 3.5-point favorite over Texas Tech. That's your typical 10 a.m. local kick time in Salt Lake City, Lee. Kind of similar to when OU and BYU kicked off at 10 a.m. local time a couple of seasons ago in the morning. I'll kind of start with this one. I've been on the Utah train pretty much all season, or all off season, that is. I kind of liked them. I mean, in the winter, you could get them as like the 7th longest odds to win the Big 12, like in the off season. I thought that was crazy once they got Devin Dampier. I think Utah's the best team in the Big 12. I think they're going to represent the Big 12 in the playoff. Being at home, I think Vegas probably looks at this as a kind of a toss-up on a neutral field with Utah getting 3 in the hook at home. I am going to go with Utah's pretty good kind of top 20, top 15-ish defense to go along with their playmaking quarterback. I just think the quarterback in general, if you want to look at it as a matchup between 2 quarterbacks, Devin Dampier versus Baron Morton, I will take Devin Dampier 11 out of 10 times in that matchup. So give me Utah minus 3.5.
Okay. By the way, I was on Florida, not LSU. So that's the other one I lost. Florida, though, should have covered. They were like, that game was tight the entire time. And then
maybe that's why. Maybe that's because I think being on Florida was actually the right play there as the game played out. But LSU's offense is a problem. It's not good. So that's something that will have to be reckoned with.
I think LSU won the game by 10, but it was either a late field goal or a touchdown. Anyway, who cares? So you're on Utah. I'm on the other side. I'll take Texas Tech. I'll take the Red Raiders. I know it's on the road. Don't really care. Their offense has been excellent. It's a situation where, weirdly, Texas Tech's defense has been good too. And I got a high-powered, one of the best offenses so far. I'm catching 3.5. This could be a field goal game in the crazy Big 12. Give me the 3.5 points.
Earlier this week, Bill Connolly, the creator of SP Plus, tweeted out the top 15 in the country if you remove all preseason projections from the formula right now. Texas Tech, number 1 team in the country if you remove all preseason stuff so far this year. Something tells me that's not quite accurate, but I guess we will see going into this game. All right, another really interesting game, I think. I think a lot of OU fans, even though this is the same time as the OU game, but I think there's going to be some scoreboard watching here for sure. 21st ranked. Lee, I just changed it to 1. It was 1.5 90 seconds ago.
So it just changed because I got it at 2.5 right now on ESPN.
On ESPN, are you like, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry. You're right.
Can you say that louder?
Refresh the page.
Say it louder.
Grant was right. I had to refresh the page. So that line's moving, though.
It is. Yeah, that's not the only line that's moved. I'll tell you some of the other ones that moved too. But Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite over Nebraska. That game is at 2:30 on CBS. This is, I think, a pretty classic coin flip game. And this is another big time narrative game for Nebraska for sure. If you look at Nebraska's schedule, after this, it gets pretty light. They play Ohio State, but after that, I don't think there's not a single game on their schedule that – I'm sorry, they play Penn State. But after that, there's not a game on their schedule that they cannot win. So this is going to be a game that I think Nebraska is going to put a lot of resources into winning. I think it's pretty classic. Michigan has a top 5 to top 10 defense, and I think Nebraska is going to struggle to move the ball. So give me Michigan minus the 1.5. I think this is like a 17-13 type game.
Yeah, I'll go against you again. Give me Nebraska plus the 1.5 to win the football game. Another situation where you got a true freshman on the road in a tough environment. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a big game. Nebraska's offense and defense has been good this year. It's going to be low scoring. I hate playing totals, but the total seems kind of high, 46.5. So that almost seems too easy. So, but again, I hate playing totals. I wouldn't do it. Give me Nebraska. Give me Matt Rule to kind of figure it out, and for the second time on the road, Chip Lindsey and Bryce Underwood to kind of look suspect on offense.
I think this is kind of like a classic experience game. I think Nebraska's played only one game this season against a power opponent. That was Cincinnati, and their offense did not look good in that game. They struggled to move the ball consistently throughout that game. Their defense has been salty the entire year. But I do think Bryce Underwood's experience at Oklahoma earlier this year is probably going to serve him really well in this game. And I think it does mean something that Michigan, the week right after kind of getting it shoved in them by Oklahoma, they came out and they were explosive offensively, and they threw the ball down the field too. And so, like I said, I don't think they're going to be dynamic offensively in this game, but I think it's going to be enough to keep it through the chain, to keep them moving the chains. And also, I don't know. I think it's a good OU year, and I think Michigan's a good team that OU already beat. So, but that's just what we're going to go with.
Is this real quick? Is this one of those kind of similar to the OU Michigan game where this game means a heck of a lot more to Nebraska than Michigan and Matt Rule there?
I think you could make that argument for sure, but if from the Michigan perspective, I said Nebraska's schedule. Go look at Michigan's schedule. You can easily say this is their toughest game until they play Ohio State. So Michigan at this point in time is thinking, hey man, we win this game and we're going to be favored. Maybe, we're going to be favored in the rest of our games. I think the only other coin flip would be against USC for sure. I think that game's on the road.
Yeah.
They're thinking playoff if they win this game because, they're going to be an underdog to Ohio State. But yeah, no, I think this game is equally as important for both of these teams. So I don't think it's necessarily
in terms of just I'm not talking about this season, just in terms of Matt Rule coaching at Nebraska. It's he's going to figure it out. I think he's been a good coach, but still, it's been kind of underwhelming. But whatever, we don't have to spend that much time on it.
Interesting SEC game. Disappointing South Carolina per SP Plus, the worst team in the SEC at this point in time in the season. On the road against number 23 Missouri. This is a game, the line I just had to change. This one's gone down. I think this was at 13.5 when I put it in on Monday. It's gone down to 10.5. This pretty easy Missouri for me. I think this is a game Missouri's going to win maybe by 3 or 4 scores.
That that's big, man. South Carolina, might just be fraudulent. Smoked by Vanderbilt, first road game now. Boy, you think, can Shane Beamer have him bounce back and play with some more pride?
Lenore Sellers is questionable. He's going to be, even if he does play, he's probably going to be banged up. Even then, they don't have any skill position players. Missouri's offense has been good. It's been really good.
I haven't seen Missouri play. Is Bo Pribula playing well?
Yes. Mateer and Pribula have been the two best quarterbacks in the SEC through the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, that's a big number. Obviously some money came in on South Carolina if it moved from 13.5 down to 10.5. That just seems like too many points, but yeah, I'll go with Missouri, but that's a tough one. I don't love it.
All right. Another big game that Florida is playing in that is on the road. They are playing on Saturday Night Football for back-to-back weeks. Last week they were at LSU. This week they are at number 4 Miami. Miami is a 7.5-point favorite, and this one's moved a lot, Lee. When I put this in on Monday, it was 3.5. So that's gone. That's gone in Miami's direction, which doesn't surprise me. A lot of public money would come in on Miami here. I think I gotta go with Florida here, and this is me just full on playing the number.
This was 3.5 at one point.
It was.
No, really?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would have opened at like 6 or 6.5. With how bad Florida's playing. That's surprising.
I mean, if you think about it, this is basically like Vegas is, if it opens like that, Vegas is saying, like LSU is like 3 to 2.5 points better than Miami. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing. Like, I don't know if I agree with that, but that's not like that outlandish and crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, give me Florida plus the points. I'll back them again for the second straight week. It's playing the number. It's a rivalry game. Man, Florida's schedule is so hard. They got it. They got to have it. And by the way, Miami plays Florida State right after Florida. So they actually have the bye between, but Miami's been good. I mean, Miami's been really good.
Miami's been really good. I think
really sad. It's very sad for this podcast that Miami's been very good.
I think Carson Beck, I think through the first 3 weeks has been the best quarterback in college football. He's looked really outstanding. So we'll see how he looks against a Florida team that I think their dysfunction on offense notwithstanding, I think they got a pretty salty defense that can travel and go in and put a game up here. So I think Miami's going to win, but Florida getting that hook there, I think will cover the number. So in what I think is probably the second biggest game of the week, if you're talking about playoff implications, I think the winner of this game, Lee, is going to go to the college football playoff. Number 9, surprisingly, top 10, number 9, your Illinois Fighting Illini. They are on the road in Bloomington. They are facing the 19th ranked Indiana Hoosiers, who are a 5.5-point favorite. Lee, this game opened at 2.5 for Indiana, and it is up to -5.5 for Indiana. So I am at 2.5. I would have been all over Indiana for sure, but now I think I got to take Illinois here, and this is falling. I'm rooting for Indiana. I like Indiana. I like Cignetti. I like that program. I just thoroughly dislike Brett Bielema and anything that he is associated with. So I would really like Indiana to win this game heavily, but number here, I think, is telling me to take Illinois.
Man, it's hard. Under three. It's obviously Illinois. I'm sorry. Obviously Indiana. Sorry. God, two. The I teams, the I states. Give me Indiana. Give me Sig. Even with the points, even with the value gone, give me Sig at home. He's the real deal. Illinois' defense isn't even as good as it has been in the past. Give me Indiana to win by at least a touchdown. It might be a trap. I feel like Illinois is probably the play, but I'm going against my gut. Give me the Hoosiers.
All right. And to recap, Texas Tech at Utah. Utah's a 3.5-point favorite. We got Crossfire. Lee is on the Red Raiders. I am on the Utes of Utah. Michigan, 1.5-point favorite at Nebraska. Another Crossfire. Lee is on the Cornhuskers. I am on the Michigan Wolverines. We're both taking Missouri as a 10.5-point favorite over South Carolina. Both taking Florida as a 7.5-point underdog on the road at Miami. And then our third Crossfire of the week, Lee is on Indiana as a 5.5-point favorite. I am on the other side, Illinois as the underdog. Lee, I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining week of college football. That's going to be really good for it to outdo last weekend, because last weekend was pretty phenomenal college football week. And we didn't even talk about that Tennessee-Georgia game, which was just a really great college football game. And it's pretty cool knowing that we're gonna see a game in that stadium later this year. That seems pretty intense. I don't know how that's gonna work out. So, any other final thoughts before we sign off and let people enjoy the rest of their week?
Nope, that's it. Good stuff. Happy to be back. Thanks again to Brady for filling in. And thanks to you for making it happen. But no, I'm good. You got any final thoughts?
Nib high football rules.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy OU and Auburn. Should be electric. Hopefully the Sooners come out on the right side. We'll be back afterwards to talk all about it. Until then, for Grant, I am Lee. This is West of Everest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you want to help us spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, tell all of your friends who are OU fans about West of Everest. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.